Okay, we're gonna try this because he said he can't hear me. If he can't hear me, we'll have to restart. But all y'all in the chat, can y'all hear me? Or am I freezing up? Because he says he can't hear me, so we might not be able to do it today. I appreciate everybody in the chat. Help me out. Iron Dog, Ty, Doug, can y'all hear me? Joe said, yep. Just comment, can you hear me? Say, yes, we can hear you, Derek. Yes, we can hear you. You can hear me? He can't hear me, though. You think he's muted? Nikki said, you hear me good? I wonder why he
I get
can't.
nothing. I get nothing on this side. I can't hear anything.
You can't hear me? Shit. Damn. Okay, well, we might not be able to do it today, man. We might have to reschedule. But am I freezing up?
How about this? I just logged in from my phone.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Perfect. Much better.
Man, I'm like, what's going on? I was like, I'm at work. I know we got the good internet.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm on calls all day, video calls. So I'm surprised it's not working for this one, but we got it. The phone works. We'll take it.
Well, I appreciate you stopping by, man. I feel like you're a legend in the game, man. So this is Big Reptile Talk, and today we got Big Jason himself, man. Been doing so much good stuff in the industry, man. So first off, I gotta ask, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I appreciate you having me. I've actually checked out a couple of the shows you guys have been doing, and it's I think it's some pretty cool stuff. You're getting some awesome people on. I'm just like a little guy in the big games that you've been having on lately. So that's incredible. I appreciate you having me.
I'm gonna have to disagree, man. You Instagram 50K, you a big dog in the game.
It's like I said, I can't tell you how many I have. Honestly, I like snakes. I just do what I do, and it's I feel like sometimes people gravitate towards it, sometimes they don't. But I couldn't tell you how many subscribers I have anywhere. I just kind of do my thing, and like I said, if people want to follow, that's awesome. I totally appreciate it. But it's about the reptiles. I just love what I do. So I have no complaints.
Well, I gotta ask, man, how long you been in the game? And I sound like I'm talking about the dope game, but we talking about the snake game. How long have you been in the game?
So I've had snakes since I was 7. So I've been breeding since I was probably 12 or 13. So 20 plus years or so. So I've been breeding for about 20 years or so. And I've been keeping for over 25. Primarily, I've always had boas. Actually, a boa was my first snake when I was younger. I did ball pythons for a while, but it just wasn't where my heart was. So now it's primarily boas, Burmese pythons, and some miscellaneous stuff, colubrids and corn snakes and stuff like that. But I think most people associate me with boas at this point. It's and I don't have. I feel like I don't have the craziest collection, but it's a collection that I like. It's all the stuff that's special to me, whether it just be a normal hypo or just a normal boa. It's stuff that's special to me.
Right. I love that answer. Now, we know that your first reptile was, you were in the ball pythons and stuff. Now, why have you gravitated towards boas and burns, those two specifically?
It's a good question. It was when I was doing ball pythons, I always liked boas. I felt like they were, in short, they're, in my opinion, the ideal snake. They get to a good size. They're super hardy. They eat readily, even from babies. I get most of my babies eating frozen thawed as soon as they're born. And they're just kind of, in my opinion, a very easy, foolproof snake, as long as you have a couple requirements set up right. I had ball pythons, but I was doing ball pythons because I was chasing the money. I was chasing the morphs. It was exciting. When I was in it, was, single gene morphs. So when you had a double gene morph, it was like, wow, what the heck is coming next? But I was chasing the morph. I wasn't really into the snake. Nothing against ball pythons. I love ball pythons, but it's just not my snake. That's where I kind of gravitated towards boas, mainly the feeding. They eat great. And again, I think they're the perfect size snake, in my opinion. Then there's Burmese pythons. To me, the Burmese python was always that snake that my parents said gets too big, you'll never have it. One day I actually went to the store with my father, and he says, "Oh, let's get that snake." It was an albino Burmese python. And me being the responsible little chubby kid I said, "No, no, no, we're not going to get that. That's going to get too big." And in my head, the Burmese python was always like the pinnacle of big snakes, this big, heavy-bodied snake. I saw one at a party, and it was just awesome. It was like a little kid sitting there with this Burmese python on my hands, and it was just the most incredible snake I've ever seen. So I always gravitated towards those. And I have a smallish collection. I've had it throughout the Lacey Act and all that stuff. So it's been super cool. You know, those two are just my favorite snakes. And honestly, even corn snakes, I hate to say it, I always figured corn snakes were kind of like the wimpy snake because the size of them. But I always liked them. And somebody gave me one through a rescue. And I'm like, this is actually a pretty cool little snake. It's not for everybody, but it is a really hardy, foolproof snake. It's like, so in my opinion, like corn snakes, boas, and Burmese pythons give you the perfect size gradient through. And I have some special little things, but for the most part, those are the key things that I like to work with for the most part.
I love that. I love that. Now, with you having, such a passion for the reptile hobby, have you ever thought, excuse me, I got kind of an itchy throat today. Have you ever thought about getting into the venomous side of the hobby? And if not, why?
No, not even once. I actually, yes, when I was younger. And to me, I just don't want to have to think that hard. I love venomous snakes. I love them. But it's just not for me. To me, the point of having a reptile, the point of having a snake is so I can hold it, I can admire it. Some people are okay with just admiring it. But to me, I know I'm going to want to hold it, and you can't do that. I get bit all the time, mainly because I'm not paying attention. I can, if anybody who's come over my house, or even in some of the videos, I mean, I cannot get bit. I can hold everything in here, the craziest snake, and not get bit. But when I'm not paying attention, I get bit because I don't care. I'm just doing my thing. And that's, I don't want to ever have to think that hard where it's a life or death situation. All the power to the people to keep it. It's just, that was just never my deal. I just never saw the desire to keep a venomous animal.
Right.
Even though I love them. Some of my favorite snakes are venomous snakes. I just don't want to have to take that risk on.
Right. I've been kind of thinking about it. I haven't fully gravitated towards it yet, but I am thinking about it now. I've had some really dope people. That's the basis of my channel. Me just hanging out in my reptile room and just hanging out with cool people in the hobby. And I've brung some really dope breeders up on the channel, like Ozzy Boys. He's known for the orange dream morph. I'm curious, because you're a big breeder. When are we gonna get that boa morph that Jason Exotics is known for? Are you chasing that right now, or trying to get that custom morph that we can say this is Jason's Exotics reptile morph, the dragonfly morph?
I like that. I'll keep that. I'm gonna steal that name when I make it. The dragonfly morph. I was never one to chase. Maybe when the ball pythons were there, it was to chase the world's first and all that stuff. In my opinion, a true world's first is a one gene animal, a pied. Pied is a world's first. The first hypo is a world's first. To me, just because you stacked 10 things in one snake and you were the first to make it, I guess it's the world's first. But to me, that's not the world's first. So I was never really one to chase it. If it happens, great. I have a couple really cool projects that are special to me. I think that it is something unique and it's a new morph. But at the same time, I feel like I'm maybe, and I don't want to kind of compliment myself, but I feel like I'm humble to a fault at the same time, where I could care less about what's new. I just gravitate towards what catches my attention. I mean, I really like a lot of stuff out there, but it's not my target to make that. So I'm just happy playing, again, with the simple stuff. I like the simple 1, 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 gene animals. I feel like once you go over 4 genes, unless you're extremely selective and you're really piecing these things together, it's almost a waste. If you want them, if you like them, fantastic. I'm not going to knock people for it, but that's not my goal. I want to make really high quality single, double, triple gene animals. And that's maybe, I guess, what I would be like to think I'm most known for is the variety of what I work with, from locality stuff to morphs. And I like to think I produce really high quality stuff, not necessarily trying to just get as much stuff into a snake as possible to get that world's first tick, but to just produce really nice, solid animals from pet quality all the way up to breeder quality. I like all price ranges. I like dealing with new customers, people who are just getting into the hobby. Maybe they don't want to spend $5,000 on a snake. I'm totally cool selling a $50 snake. I like the passion, and honestly, it's those pet owners that drive me to keep doing what I do. If I dealt with people who are breeding all day long, I'd go crazy. I like the pet owners who send me the update pictures, and they're like, "I got one today." It makes me so happy to see these snakes growing, taken such good care of, and they just enjoy the animal for what it is, not for what its potential is. Nothing wrong with that. I love those people too, but that to me drives me. So I'd like to just have a really just diverse collection. Again, I have things from really expensive snakes to really cheap snakes in my own. It's what I like, and that's what I like to work with. If I start chasing something, it turns it from a hobby to a business, which you could technically say it is anyways, but I don't ever want to have to get let down. Oh, somebody made it first, or I didn't get there. So I just kind of accept that this is my place, my market. Just do what I like. People gravitate towards it. If they don't, I don't care. It's my deal. So as long as I like it, I'm happy with it.
I love that, man. You just that passion, man. You can hear it in your voice, man. I love that. Now, with you being a breeder, I gotta ask this. First off, just like a two-part question. How do you prefer to sell your animals? Is it like word of mouth through the internet? And also, I want to know, what's your take on Morph Market? Do you like it? Do you use it? Do you don't use it? How do you feel about Morph Market? Because it's so new.
Oh, that's a fantastic question. Specifically the Morph Market one, because as of tomorrow, you're going to have to pay for it, where before you didn't necessarily have to pay for it. So maybe I guess I'll start with the first piece of the question is I used to love the Facebook sales. I used to love being able to go on Facebook, interact with people in groups, and kind of educate them to a point, answer their questions. That's what sparked me to start my YouTube channel. Is I never wanted to become YouTube famous. If anybody is a subscriber of my channel, they know I am horrible with creating regular videos. I post one, like I'll do like one every, I might do like 2 or 3 a week, and then I'll do like once a month, and then you won't see me for like 6 months. Just because it's like there's no new relevant topics for me to make. I'm not driving those videos. So I love what you guys do with the live talks, because there's always something cool to talk about. But I used to really enjoy the Facebook groups, interacting with the people. Then also Instagram, not so much. I feel like me, I never really understood the point of Instagram other than post a picture, there's some comments. I'm terrible with Instagram. But Facebook was like the upgrade from MySpace, where you had that personal connection with people. You can kind of talk to them and interact in a different fashion, even on like your posts and walls, that I don't feel like you really get on Instagram. I don't know who half the people's actual names are on Instagram. So to me, that's why I like Facebook. I know who I'm talking to in a sense. But that went away. I actually enjoy the YouTube and interacting with the YouTube subscribers. I just wish I knew who these people were. A lot of them are like, yeah, I've been following on YouTube and you talk to me all the time. I'm like, I have no idea. You got a picture of Godzilla as your profile picture, and your name is like Hairy Dog 231. So like, I don't know that's you. So that's why I liked Facebook. Morph Market, for the most part, I sell probably 50-50 off my website and off Morph Market. I just upgraded my website so you could check out through the store. But for a while, it was just, here's a picture, email me, contact me so we can set up the payment. And I just found it's a little bit, you can still do that. I'd say about half the people that go to my website still do that. They'll show me a picture, they'll email me, and we'll work it out off the website. The other half check out through the store and the website, and I barely talk to them. I like Morph Market because it's almost like my old website format, where you're in there with a whole bunch of other breeders and keepers, and you can get the message, talk to the person, understand what they're looking for. I like that personal interaction, get them what they want. Morph Market, at least for boas, used to be free up until tomorrow. And I see a lot of value in Morph Market. I think the price is a little bit expensive for me. I think I would need like the $540 a year plan or the $800 and something a year, which is a lot of money for most people, for anybody. I don't want to spend it, and I think it's a good thing, because what they built on Morph Market is a fantastic platform for so many people to see what's out there, compare animals. I use it to price my animals. What's out there? What's not out there? What is my animal compared to the animal that's out? How does it sell? I think Morph Market is a very valuable tool. I like it better than King Snake and Fauna Classified, which I've used in the past. But I think the price is a little bit steep, especially for new keepers. That's more my fear, is for somebody like me that already knows the value of paying $500, $600, $800 a year. I'm going to do it because I know it drives customers. But for a new keeper who just had a litter of boas or a clutch of eggs for pythons, it's kind of expensive to ask them to pay $300-$400, and they don't know the value. They've never done this before. So I think it's going to take away from the platform in general. Personally, as much as I hate that, I think it is going to drive traffic away from the platform. People are already looking for other platforms. It was nice because Morph Market almost completely consumed King Snake and Fauna. Almost everybody was on Morph Market. Now that it's going to charge, I feel like people are going to go to King Snake, Fauna, Morph Market, Facebook, Instagram, and I'm going to have to post this stuff on like 3, 4, 5 different sites just to get the same amount of customer drive I had from these two. So I don't blame them for it. I think Morph Market brings extremely good value to the hobby, but their prices are going to change things a little bit, especially for boas, which used to be free as of today and not as of tomorrow. So I don't know if that answered the question. I hope it did, and then a little bit more.
Hey, I love the answers you're giving. So what are they kind of doing? Is it like a monthly thing now for the boas?
Yeah, you can do monthly or you can do annually, but monthly is much more expensive. So that same plan that was $540, and I might be misquoting it. Go to Morph Market if you're really interested in this. Anybody who's listening, it used to be $540 for the year. I think it's like $80 or $90 a month. So you can still play the game. There's different restrictions on it. There's like, animal limitations, price limitations. Most people are going to fit in the 300. I think it's the $300 and under category. Someone like myself is like teeter-tottering between the I think they call it a pro level and I don't know, a super pro level. It's like the 2 highest tiers, which is the most expensive. It's fine. Again, it makes me money. It drives traffic. The guy spent a lot of time building and generating that platform. He should get paid for it. I have no problem paying for that. Everybody's worth something, and I think his platform's worth it as well. Right. So I'm all for paying. It's just I'd like to still keep it for free. I don't want to pay for anything I don't have to.
Right. Now, you have so many racks, those racks behind you, tubs behind you. I'm just kind of curious, do you do a lot of your breeding at the crib or you got your own facility?
Yes. So everything is in my house. It's when I bought my house that I kind of first started expanding. Biggest check was I need a basement and it needs to be good. I've always had it at my house. I thought about getting a facility and doing it off-site. I don't want to. Then it makes it a business again. Then it makes it someplace I need to go to. It makes it a job. I need to go to this place every X amount of weeks. With it being in my house, I'll come down here in the morning, at night. I'll clean the cages. I might clean cages at midnight. Just whenever. I'm always down here. So when I bought my house, it had to have the reptile room space in it. So that was like an essential piece of purchasing the house. My new house that I just bought is I'm in Connecticut now, and I bought it. I'm like, this basement's perfect. It's got high ceilings. It's nice and big. So I used to be my old place was great. It was like 1,000 square feet, but it had walls. And when I built it, I wasn't planning on expanding to the point that I expanded to. This new place is like, I'm looking around now. I'm pretty much maxed out. I mean, I get kind of racks all down the walls that way, and racks. I don't know if this is showing or not.
Doing your thing, man.
Then I got racks in front of me that you guys can't see, but it's I built it just for this. You know, the floors, the ceiling, the heat. It doesn't need to look pretty. I don't care what it looks like, but it functions right. And that's what I was focused on, is the function. I don't care. I get pink styrofoam on the walls. I haven't sanded and finished this. I have an exposed ceiling, but it works. And that's what I was looking for. It's normally I have a fan going. The humidity's right. I just spray down the floor to keep the humidity up. So everything was my first room, how I can make this one better. And all the little things I did to make the other room look pretty, the drop ceilings, you know, the different color walls and all that other stuff, that was kind of taken away from my breeding ability. I couldn't stack cages as high, couldn't stack as large of cages. I have electrical outlets every 5 feet in the ceiling on their own breaker each. So I'd never have to worry about popping breakers or fire hazards or anything like that. So it's all built specifically for it. And that was my goal with this new place.
Man, shout out to Tavion. He said that's basement goals, man. So I'm gonna tell you, just what you just showed me. You killing my collection, man. You killing it.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the people that mentor me to lead into the next question. Shout out to Iron Dog and the My Animal House show. They're one of my mentors. That, you know, when I got into the reptile game and I wanted to do podcasts, they were one of the first podcasts that I started watching, and they became my friends. And they were like, you know, you should do a podcast too. And I was like, and I was kind of on the fence. And then I came across another podcast, and I always tell this story. You know, I came across the MJ's Trap Talk podcast, if you will. And I was watching his podcast, and I'm like, this dude has it figured out. You know, he's in his reptile room, and he's hanging out with the dopest people in the hobby. I want to do that. You know, I want to do that. And, you know, I started doing it. So shout out to Iron Dog and My Animal House and MJ's Trap Talk. Those are a couple of my mentors. And I say that to just lead into the question of asking you, you know, you have a lot of knowledge with boas and snakes. Were you self-taught, or do you have a mentor?
It's a little bit of both. I think a lot of what I've learned was through listening to everybody, reading all the books, you know, just listening to everything, digesting it, trying it. And it probably took me 10 years until I really figured out how to consistently breed reptiles in general. And I listened to everybody. But what I learned is that a lot of people are not telling the truth. A lot of the books are not telling you what those breeders do. They're telling you what you want to hear, what people wouldn't turn their nose up at. Like, oh, you do that? You're not supposed to do that. They're taking the natural habitats and putting them into captivity. And I actually just had this conversation with somebody that came by last night to pick up some snakes, a good guy, is that we are not in the wild. We're in captivity. So I know this is getting a little off topic of your question, but I had a lot of people who I followed, and they weren't misleading me, but they were giving me the kosher answer, the answer that they were supposed to give. I then I'm good friends with Kevin McCurley, who I'd say is my biggest mentor, my biggest influence. And he, you know, sometimes he comes off as cocky. He's not. He's a very humble guy who I think just makes cocky statements sometimes, but not with that cocky mindset. And he is just one of the most in tune, in sync persons I've ever met when it comes to reptiles, and also very realistic. And he would tell me, like, no, stop paying attention to that. Stop, just do what I'm telling you. And I would do it. I'm like, wow, that worked. So it was a little bit of him kind of coaching, but for boas, I feel like it was just a lot of me screwing up and kind of remembering what I did the year before. Even now, I'm still messing around with stuff. I feel like I have it dialed pretty close to where I need it to be. I feel confident I can make almost any boa. I'm going to go as far as almost any snake, because there's a lot of really specialized stuff out there. Breed, knowing what I know and what I've learned over the years of boas. And I feel like that's the difference between somebody who's breeding and a breeder, is a lot of people can breed. A lot of people can get lucky. A breeder, to me, is somebody who understands what they're doing and can get those reproducible results. And I think it takes years of trial and error to really understand what works for you. you'll talk to me and 10 other people on how to breed boas, and they're all going to tell you something kind of the same, but totally different. It's always going to be different. So I feel like the combination of just learning from everything I could, reading the forums when I was younger, reading books, learning from people, and then trial and error was really what got me there. But my biggest mentor is definitely Kevin McCurley. I mean, when I listen to him, it works. Most of the time, it's me being stubborn, and I'm like, no, I can't do that. Kevin, what the hell? Are you crazy? You can't do that with a snake or a reptile. And sure enough, I try it. It works. So the guy knows what he's doing. He's definitely a very smart, in-tune person with the animals.
Right.
Maybe doesn't even, he gets a lot of credit, maybe even not as much as he should be getting.
Right.
Brian Bracek, you know, everybody bashes Brian. I think Brian, my biggest gripe with Brian is he is so damn smart and in tune with reptiles. People don't want to watch that, though. People want to watch sensationalism. And that's like, man, this guy, if anybody knew how great this guy was, how much knowledge that this guy had and paid attention, every once in a while he'll do like a couple-minute video and he'll spit some like amazing knowledge. And I'm thinking like nobody even picked up on that because they're just watching like the drama and the stuff in the background that people want to see. But man, just such like in tune people when it comes to how to breed.
Right.
And if he actually gave like a how to breed video and people followed it word for word and he told exactly what he did, everybody would be a breeder. Most of the time people don't want to follow it though. They think, nope, I read this book. It's not how you do it. They don't listen. And it depends on what book you read. Some of them are right, some of them are wrong. So totally kind of long-winded answer, but
no,
hopefully that works all right for you.
No, that worked. Shout out to Nerd and BHB, man. Both great entities. Give me 1 second, 10 seconds.
Yes, sir. Well, he's gone. We don't know what he's doing. He's just like, I got to take a leak. And he's official. He looks like he's in an office right now. He's got that good internet. Show off some snakes while he's gone. Give him a chance to come back. There's a Paraglow jungle. So a het sharp, het, boa woman caramel, hypo jungle. It's an awesome boa. One of my favorites. Always gets me scared because they got black freckles and you never know. You know, I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, there's mites. It's just black freckles. It scares the crap out of me every time, though.
I forgot. Sorry, I apologize.
No, I'm like, man, he's got to pee or something like that. And then you got up. I'm like, man, you're officially in an office. Are you in an office right now? Or are you in like a conference room, right?
I'm at work, but I'm on break, so they don't care.
I love it.
Look at what is that?
So this is a Paraglow jungle. So it's a het sharp, het boa woman caramel, hypo jungle.
Gorgeous.
So I figured while you were gone, let me pull this out.
Look at that.
It always scares me, I was saying, because they got black freckles. So every time I see this snake, I'm like, oh shit, mites. But it's definitely not mites. They just, I don't know if you can see them. And the freckles are always under the scales. They look so much like mites. Every time I see this snake, I get worried I got mites.
Man, that's a horrible snake. Just give it to me. Let me take it off your hands.
I'll ship it right over.
Now, while we were talking about BHB and Nerd, I wanted to give you an idea for your YouTube.
Okay.
since you're such good friends, and shout out to Nerd. I've had Rob and Jeremy on the show. Great dudes. I was thinking you could, you know, call Nerd and have a snake sell-off. And whoever wins gotta buy the other person like some lobster and steak or something. Like you hit up Kev, you're like, hey, I'm gonna sell 200 snakes. If you sell 200 snakes, I gotta buy you lobster and steak, or you gotta buy me lobster and steak if I win.
I'm gonna be buying Nerd and whoever else some lobster and steak.
I think you can take them.
They got, you know, one thing about Nerd is he's built. And I always tell Kevin too. I'm like, Kevin, you are Nerd. You are what makes Nerd. To a lot of people, Nerd is still Nerd, but to kind of some of the people who have been around for, I'm gonna say 10 plus years, Nerd is Kevin. Without Kevin, there is no Nerd. It's just a building that sells snakes, at least for me. And man, Kevin, that dude can sell snakes. He'll sell 200 snakes by tomorrow if I gave him that bet, which I should give him that bet. He'd probably appreciate it because it's and you know what, his YouTube channel is just, I'm assuming, driving so much traffic, new keepers. So he's doing fantastic with that. So I would never be able to beat him in that bet. I would not take that one on. I'd be out some lobster dinners and some steak, and he'd go expensive. He's actually vegan, so I might be okay. I was tell him, you know, Kevin, I'll give you some broccoli and some tofu eggs, and he'll be all happy.
Now, right now, how many animals, you know, not talking about the clutches, how many animals you think you got right now?
Oh, man, I need to I get asked that all the time. I need to take an inventory, but I'd say that I probably have somewhere around 200 to 300 consistent animals. Then once I have babies, it goes up to, you know, 500 to 600 at any point throughout the year. So I'd say I fluctuate between a solid 200 animals, maybe upwards of 3, but I never count, to be honest. I should probably just count the racks behind me. Everything's got an animal in it.
Right.
Yeah, I'd say at least probably 200 animals that are on the regular kind of situation. And then I have babies and I'm like, I'm going to keep all of these. They're all awesome, which is my biggest problem is I got to stop keeping stuff. I have to stop. My wife's going to get really mad at me if I keep keeping stuff. I had a litter. I'm like, I'm going to keep the whole thing. And, and it's not, it wasn't even, you know, this crazy powerful litter. It was just, actually, I said that twice. One of them, I want to keep all my leopard babies. I had 15 leopard babies, leopard boas, and I want to keep them all. And I'm like, I just can't do that. I can't do that. But I like them. I like them so much. I want to keep every one of them. They're all unique. They're all special. And again, to me, it could be a $20,000 snake. If it doesn't do anything for me, I don't care that it's $20,000. Leopard boa, I don't know, $500, $600, $700, maybe $800, $900 in today's market because prices have gone wild. I don't even know what prices are doing right now, but I want to keep all of them. I don't care that it's a cheaper single gene snake. I love it.
Right.
I know I had an albino leopard litter. I'm keeping all the albino leopards. I don't care what my wife says.
you know, and I love my wife. Shout out to her. Because she supports everything I do as yours. I'm sure she supports you. I told her the same thing. I was like, babe, I really want to, you know, get into breeding. I'm really getting interested in that aspect of the hobby. And she was like, well, do it. If that's your passion, go try it. Do it. And then I said, maybe a month later, I said, nah, babe, I would be a horrible breeder. And she said, why is that? I said, because I wouldn't sell nothing.
Yes.
Like I'm gonna have if I have a clutch and there's 8, 9 eggs, I just got 9 new snakes, and you're gonna be pissed.
That's how it works. But like you said, I mean, at least she's supportive. She tells you to go do it. And honestly, that's now what I've done is a lot of times I'll just put up the whole litter, and the last 2 that are back, the last male, the last female, I'll decide like I'm going to keep those. But last year I kept nothing. I had good discipline. I'm like, I'm moving. I have no more room. I'm just going to keep it all. This year, in the process of my move, I had a lot of animals die off in the process of my move through a mistake that I made, just stupid mistake that could have been avoided in hindsight, but I can't beat myself up for it now. So now I need to kind of rebuild a lot of my raise ups. Most of it were my raise up animals. So I need to rebuild my raise ups. So I'm keeping quite a bit back this year. Some really special stuff and fortunately I made some really special stuff. At least to me, it's special. I call Kevin. Kevin's like, sell that. You need something better. I'm like, no, I like this. He's like, I don't care what you like. Get something better. So if it were up to Kevin, every animal over here would be $10,000 plus. But I just can't do it. I get some old animals. How do I sell an animal that I've had for 15 years and has been good to me, and it's just not producing anymore because it's just an old breeder female? It just lives its life out here. I can't sell it. A smart business breeder would sell it off and make room for more. Me, I'm maxed out. I don't have any room for more. I'm living with what I have. So I guess that's also kind of the difference between a hobby and a business.
Right.
Is I kind of tiptoe that line of hobby business.
Right. Now, with you being a breeder in the industry, this is something that I always ask breeders. Do you feel like right now there's still quite a bit of money to be made, or do you feel like the market is getting saturated because so many people is wanting to get into that breeding part, and it's just so many new breeders every day? Do you know what I'm saying? Do you feel like it's still money to be made, or it's kind of hitting that roof of it's becoming saturated?
I think that there is still, I think there's still money to be made if you're passionate about what you do. I think that you need a lot of people, in my opinion, they go and buy the most expensive stuff they can find. They produce high quality animals. They come with this problem where they can't sell them. And I made a video on this, is that I truly feel you need to build a base and build a reputation of who you are before somebody's going to give you the credibility to buy a $10,000 animal. A lot of people would disagree with that mindset. Buy the most expensive stuff you can, produce it, and people will buy it. Maybe that's the difference between my kind of hobby mentality and that business mindset of buy expensive stuff. But I think there is still money to be made if you're strategic, if you know what you're doing. I don't think there's any get rich quick plan. I'm a big advocate of buying baby snakes and raising them up. If you put the time in, you can create that reputation. And I'm just looking out of the corner of my eye. I think one of my Burmese is laying eggs that I didn't know had eggs.
That's money.
That's money right there. So I think as long as you're passionate about it, what will kill the market is people getting into it, making snakes, freaking out that they didn't sell them in a day or two, dropping the price, and that drops it for everybody. As long as people are smart, I get the whole, I want to make snakes available, cool snakes available for everybody. I get that whole market, but I do think that we have to respect the market that we're working with. Don't overproduce. Don't drop your prices to try to undercut. What happens is then it tracks this cycle of undercutting, and you just devalue your investment. If you're truly thinking about this like a business, that's an investment. If I'm selling it cheaper than you, nobody else wants to pay, let's say $1,000. I sell it for $8,000. You just set the bar to $800. That is now the new bar. Then next year or right after that, I sell it for $6,000. That's now the new bar. If you keep it at 1,000, it's always going to be 1,000. And recently, I mean, this year, prices of snakes, they've gone up like everything else. I mean, it makes sense. Prices of feeders, prices of racks, prices of bedding, everything is more expensive now. So I think there is a market, but people need to be responsible, respect the market, respect what they're doing with it, and see bigger picture, and also not freak out if you don't sell snakes. Just need to wait. Just need to kind of put your time in and get those customers and do what you need to do. Go on Facebook, go to the groups, explain to people who you are, why they should buy from you. There are a lot of people out there. Not everybody is going to be as successful as others in it, but that's just like everything. You can have 20 restaurants on a street. Look at New York. New York City is a perfect example. You got 20 restaurants. They're all Italian on the same street, and every Italian restaurant's packed. I think there are customers. Some are going to be busier than others because they're better than others. They're serving better food. Same thing with snakes. Some of them are going to get that draw. Then sometimes you just have a line in front of one restaurant and people go to it. They don't even know why. A restaurant might suck, but it has a line in front of it. So people follow other people. So I think the reputation, we have so many tools in front of us to sell snakes. You need to put in the work and you will make the money. But you need to put in the work. There's no, I'm going to buy some snakes, post them on Morph Market, I'm going to get rich. It just doesn't work that way. And your reputation, the first time you sell a bad snake, that could really hurt your reputation, especially as a growing breeder. Somebody who's a big established breeder, it's probably not going to tarnish their reputation if they screw people over, unless they do it consistently. But you see these waves of people, I don't know how active you are on Facebook, but a big breeder does something totally screwed up, like a really big screw up. And you see these troves of people going to back them. You're wrong. They didn't do that. You were the problem. So no, that breeder really screwed up. But they have this army behind them to support them. If you're a new breeder, that will kill you. I mean, you will never sell a snake again. You might as well just change your name on Facebook and sell under a different entity because your business is done. So I know, again, we're going off topic, but I think that's the reptile hobby in the industry now is, yes, there is a market, but we need to be respectful of it and support others, do it in a positive way. Let's all grow together. The more snakes that you decide to breed, that is positive to the market, as long as you're not bad-mouthing me and I'm not bad-mouthing you. I saw it today on a Facebook, somebody asking, who do we buy Burms from? Somebody put my name there. I said, yeah, here's my litter. There's a lot, or here's my clutch. There's a lot of great breeders out there. Let me know if you're interested in one that I have. And that's the fact, is like, I don't need to take every piece of it. My snakes will sell. At the end of the year, I'll be looking for stuff because I'm out of stuff to sell. It just takes time. Be patient. Everything will sell as long as you're patient, it's priced right, and you have quality stuff.
Right. I can't agree with you more, and I love that answer. Now, I got to give you a couple hot seat questions.
Yeah.
You got to think about this, and I'm not gonna say nerd because that's your homeboy.
Yep.
Now, if Jason's exotic reptiles did not exist, Lord forbid, and you needed a job, and there were only a couple reptile jobs out there, I'm gonna name some places, and I want to know where you working and why. So, if you could, would you work with Jay at Prehistoric Pets, Brian Barczyk at the Reptarium, Savannah at Gatorland, or Primitive Predators at their facility? Now, these are all great people, but not nerd, because you'll say nerd immediately. So where would you go and why?
I'd say, honestly, I know this isn't the right answer. Any one of them, because they're all great people. But I guess if where I would go and why, probably Jay at Prehistoric. As much as a bad reputation he gets, I like him because Jay that has always been Jay. He's just being himself. Everybody might not agree with it, and it may be bad and kind of probably stuff that's not the best for the hobby at times. I think everybody's done that, but I think Jay is doing his thing, and I appreciate that. He's gravitating to watch, and I understand, and I'm happy he is where he is. I might even say, I'm gonna give you an answer for all of them. I know you mentioned the guys at the end. What was it? Prey something?
Primitive Predators.
I don't know who they are. I wish I could tell you I did. I probably should. I'm in my own bubble over here, man. It's terrible. I just don't pay attention to what people are doing. I'm like, this is my bubble. This is my happy place with the snakes.
Yeah.
What is everybody? Maybe that's my problem. I don't pay attention to what everybody else is doing. I'm just doing my own thing. I would work for Brian too, because I feel like he is an extremely knowledgeable guy. I would work for him so that I could understand what he's doing for breeding, his breeding techniques, how he scaled the business to the point where he scaled it. Jay has always scaled that business. He's been around in the hobby for a long time. Brian's also scaled that business, and he's done it through breeding. And then it kind of evolved to this passion of making videos in this show that he's been in. But I remember Brian from the reptile shows, not from BHB or Snake Bites TV. I remember him from BHB at the reptile shows selling snakes, him personally selling snakes. So I have a lot of respect for these guys. And I mean, working with gators would be cool, that. but I'd say it would either be Jay or Brian for those reasons. I think they're both, they have their pros and cons. But I think when you get them off the camera, they're just such smart people. I mean, look at Jay when he's trying to get bit by retics, or not. I shouldn't say trying to get bit. He's literally trying to get bit, but he doesn't get bit because he just understands the animal, understands the strike range. And I can tell by watching these people, even though there's sensationalism going on, they're just in tune with animals and passionate about it, or they would not be doing it. Brian does not need to do anything with animals anymore. His YouTube channel is generating plenty of income. If he were smart, he would just shut everything down and retire because he could probably coast for the rest of his life. But he pours so much money into what he's passionate about too. obviously building this empire of snakes and building this reputation and name. But I just have so much respect for that he's just passionate. And that's, again, why I like Kevin from Nerd is he's just doing his thing. It wasn't really until recently that Donnie kind of went up and pushed him out of his bubble to let's grow this YouTube channel.
Right.
And so that's why I respect these people so much, is that their passion is with reptiles first before any of the sensationalism comes in.
Right. Now, hot seat question number 2.
Uh-oh.
And I hope your ladies listening, because I've done it for sure. With you having so many snakes, have you ever lied to her about the cost of a snake? Like, baby, this is only $1,000, and it was really like $4,000.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've tried to not do that lately, but I definitely would be like, oh yeah, I got this snake for free. No, I mean, not that she wouldn't really care. She knows, like, I'm doing my thing, but to me, I'm like, man, that's a lot of money. I can't tell her I spent this much money on a snake. But yeah, I mean, I just bought a snake the other day, and I was asking her permission. I wasn't really asking permission, but I needed to include her in the decision. It was like a $2,500 snake. I can't just go spend $2,500 and not tell her. So I bought the $2,500 snake, but I was also asking her, hey, can I buy this? And she's real supportive. She says she sees them as business. She understands that if I buy it and I make babies, they sell. There's always the side where it could die. That's the risk factor of it. Stuff happens. These are live animals. They cannot talk. They don't speak English or Spanish or whatever language you speak. They don't talk. So when there's something wrong, it could just die all of a sudden. They can't tell you that. So that's the danger of buying a really expensive animal. But she understands that it's a business and there is return on investment with that. So she's pretty supportive. But she does get a little bit like, hey, babe, I'm going to go, buy these snakes. Oh, how much they cost? I'm like, it's like $8,500. And she's like, do you really need them? Do you really need them? I'm like, yeah, I don't have a white one like this. She said, like, it looks just like the other white one. I'm like, yeah, but not this one. This one, see the pattern on this one? So, she's supportive of it. So I don't really lie. I think at first I used to be like, yeah, I got this snake for X amount. And it was probably 4 or 5 times the amount that it was, or I got the snake for free. But I don't do that anymore. She knows what I'm spending. Right. Our bank account's a link. So now there's no way around it.
You just go look and see, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, I hope I didn't get you in too much trouble with that. So the next hot question, man, live feedings or frozen thawed?
I do frozen thawed. I have no problems with live. It's just too expensive, and I'm not going to be breeding live rodents. I don't know how people breed live rodents. The smell is just terrible. I can do the smell. I'm like all for it. It's part of breeding rats. I just don't want to do it. And 2, I mean, I work full time I do engineering, so I'm doing full time as an engineer. When I come back, like, the last thing I need is more stuff to take care of. I'm already maxed out. I'm already at the point where I'm like, I got to stop. I got to downsize snakes. My life is work at my job, work doing snakes, and whatever's left over is like not much time to actually enjoy life. So I've thought many times it's time to downsize. The last thing I want to do is start breeding rodents. I'm fortunate now where I live. I have a great guy who breeds rodents down the street from me. So mainly the only time I will start breeding and feeding live is for new babies. If I could get a solid, consistent source that would deliver to my house live rats, I'd probably do it. But I still think frozen thawed is easier, more convenient, and quicker. So I have 3 freezers that are filled with rats. When I'm ready to feed, they're there. Whether I want to pull them out at midnight or 2 in the morning, I go there, pull it out, thaw it out. The next day it's done. To me, that's easier than live feed. There's no risk of a snake not eating that week. It's in shed. It just doesn't feel right. Doesn't eat. And I don't have to go back through every rack. Occasionally it won't eat. And I'll be like, something either threw something up or didn't eat because my house smells really bad. So it's the only, in the snake hobby, my wife, she's like, this isn't weird. I walked in the house one time, like, oh, it smells like death in here. And she's like, that's not normal to walk into your house and just say it smells like death. And it's because, a rat's been in a cage for a couple of days and the snake didn't eat it. And I just didn't find it until it finally started to smell. So that's, I guess, the downside of feeding frozen thawed. But alternatively, you could have an eaten snake at that point. So I feed that. I think nutritionally they're probably about the same, unless you are feeding live and you're growing them yourself and you're really feeding them some good stuff. I think it's just easier. I have no problem with feeding live. It's part of what we do. I don't sit there. I have no problem if other people feed live, as long as they're not sitting there laughing at it, being cruel to the rat. I've had pet rats. I think they're cool animals. I've had pet mice. They're awesome. As long as you're not being cruel to the animal, it's what happens. I mean, it's not natural. It's in an enclosure. The rat can't get out. It has no chance. It's going to get eaten. But I feel like as long as you're being respectful, I've seen some people do some really messed up shit and like they're laughing about it. Like they'll take a rat and they'll spike it against the floor and they'll be like, look at all the blood. And they're laughing. And I'm like, it's kind of messed up. You know, the rats just, I think rats are cool. As long as you're respectful about it, I'm totally cool with it.
Right. Hey, great answer. There's no right or wrong answer. I can appreciate both sides of every question I've asked you. Now, shout out to Fitz Family Constrictors and Celtic Balls. Just a couple people in the chat that I know for sure are doing a little bit of breeding. So I'm going to ask a couple questions. And I don't keep people very long, 45 minutes to an hour. So we're almost done. I want to ask a couple questions just to help them out a little bit because I know that they are breeding and that's something that they're interested in. So just how do you think the breeding game is now versus how it was back in the past? Do you feel like it's changed for the better or changed for the worse?
A little bit of both. I think that there are so many resources now that learning how to breed is a YouTube search away. I mean, if you listen to my channel, anybody who Googles how to breed reptiles, Jason's Exotic Reptiles, it's so simple. Like literally in a 10-minute video, I tell you how to breed probably anything. Problem is most people don't want to listen to that. They're gonna do that. They're not gonna listen. They're gonna say he's wrong. Or the other issue is there is so many different opinions. So they're not just listening to one person, they're piecing things together. The other thing I think is that it's very easy for people who really don't know what they're doing to get a reputation of being a top quality breeder because social media is all about who's popular, who's present. Same thing, you know, like I said, the New York restaurants where you have a line. You put a line in front of a breeder, you put somebody boasting somebody up, 100,000 subscribers, they could have no clue what they're doing. And people are gonna listen to them because they have that following. I would also say be careful who you listen to. A lot of people do not want you to be successful. They will tell you the wrong thing so that you are not successful. They will tell you things that will get your animals sick. And now your animals die. And now you buy more animals from them because there's this cycle of, oh, you know, these people really care about me. My animal died. I'm going to go give them more business. So I'd say it's good in the sense where there's so much information. It's bad in the sense where there's so much information. You really need to research the person, understand the person, because there's so many people out there that are kind of shady. It's simple. It's logic. It's not hard. These are primitive animals. They're not very smart. As much as I'd love to tell you, your snake is the smartest thing ever. It's not. Its brain, if it's lucky, is the size of a pea. And that's full-grown boa. I mean, that's a tiny little brain. It does what it's instinctually tuned to do. And that's kind of where I finally breeding clicked is this is not hard. Don't overthink it. It's a temperature change. It's a feeding change. That's it. Done. Put the animals in at the right time. Done. It's knowing what to do, how to read those signs. For ball pythons or most species, when they're wrapping their water bowl, they're building follicles. Knowing it's on the cold side, it's building follicles. Time for me to put the male in. Knowing how to palpate. Knowing how to do all that so you can understand what your animal is doing at that specific point in time so that you're not putting your male in too soon. And then also boas and pythons are different. I can put my male Burmese python or male ball python to 10 females and it'll make everyone pregnant or gravid. If you do that with a boa, probably going to get slugs in every one of them and just infertile eggs. So I think from the breeder perspective, there's so much good information out there, but there's too much information. There's everybody has an opinion. And you really need to look hard and dig deep on who really knows what they're doing. I would say look at how successful they are, not from the popularity standpoint, but from the litters they produce. Do they have 100 snakes and they're producing one litter a year. And there's nothing wrong with that. I have snakes that are in rotation. I'll never produce. I have 200 snakes, usually one male to one female. So in theory, I should be able to produce 100 litters a year. They're not all adults. I should be able to produce 50 a year if half of them are adults. But I have off seasons too. I give everything a break. So look at how successful they are in terms of breeding. And also pay attention. A lot of these big breeders are not breeding everything they're selling. Many of them, like 90% of what they sell, was bred by somebody else and purchased by them to resell. So I think people get the whole, they're a flipper. So aren't all the people that you're raving about. They're all flippers too. They just have a big name behind them and they happen to breed at the same time. So I think it's important to understand that just because there's a volume of snakes getting sold, pay attention to what people are breeding. Again, I'm not talking myself up, but I am consistently successful in breeding. I'm looking at my chart, at least 20 litters, 20 plus litters of clutches a year, consistently. I know what I'm doing. I know how I'm doing this. And I feel like I'm just going to give you guys the information because I know if you listen to it, you'll love it. If you don't, which half the people aren't going to listen to anyways, you're not going to figure out what to do. People want shortcuts. Everyone wants a shortcut. There are no shortcuts. Raise your animals, feed them, grow them, change their water bowls. If you have 10 animals, there's no reason why your cages are a mess. I've gone into some people's houses with like 5-10 animals, and every cage had shit in it and was just filthy. Yes, it happens. Snakes go to the bathroom. But I can tell that's growing mold on it. That's been there for a couple of days. In a bigger, it's no excuse for me either, but I hate when my cages are dirty. I could not deal with, I've walked into pet stores and I'm like, how does this smell like this? This is your job. You have less animals than I have. This is what you do for a living. And it stinks in here. That is unacceptable to me. But they have a name, they have a reputation, people love it, and they buy from them. I'm like, my mind is blown that people don't follow that. And also don't chase the bottom dollar. I could be at a reptile show, have an A++ animal. Somebody next to me has one that's like sick, has mites, and looks like it's ready to die for $5 cheaper. Somebody buys the one for $5 cheaper. It is what it is. I've done it myself. We need to, we don't all make a lot of money. We need to save costs, but think long-term investment as well. Quality in, quality out. That doesn't necessarily mean you need to spend 10 grand on a snake. But if you buy a high quality animal, you will get high quality animals out that people will buy at any price point. It's much easier. I'll sell $100, $200 snakes before I sell one $2,000 snake. So that's something to think about. A lot more work for $100, $200 snakes than it is for one $2,000 snake. But remember, you're building a reputation in the process. I just got 100 customers versus one. It's a part of it. You build relationships with your customers, and that's something that I really enjoy. Is remember that you got to treat everybody how you'd want to be treated. You need to respect your customers. You need to respect them as friends because they are. And I've grown friendships with a lot of my customers who I'm trying to convince my wife. I'm like, hey, let's have a party. Let's invite everybody over. This is gonna be awesome. And she's like, you are not inviting 20 reptile people over to the house to like go jump in the pool. I'm like, come on, it's gonna be great. There's gonna be bears. There's gonna be music. It's gonna be the pool. It's gonna have some sun. It's gonna be great. And she's like, no, it's not gonna happen. But that's all right. I piece them out. I'll do it one at a time.
Right.
So I forget the second half of that question, but hopefully that kind of answered the question, gave some people some good advice.
That was an amazing answer to the question. Just was how do you think breeding is versus then versus now? You answered the question. I can't expect no more of you because you did that, man, and you're a legend in the game. Like I said, I normally go an hour, so I just want to tell everybody in the chat, thank y'all for coming. Jason, I want to thank you, sir. You're a legend in the game.
Thank you, man.
Before I let you go, I just want to say again, I'm about to post this. You're doing some incredible stuff, man. Just know we watching you, man.
I appreciate it. No, and honestly, I love what you're doing. You've got some amazing people on. This was a great time. I want to do this again. I want to keep going. I'll go 2 guys. I'm having fun right now. So I appreciate you having me on and all the support. And I hope your subscribers also appreciate that as well. And I wish you all the best of luck. I see your channel's growing nicely. So that's great.
Thank you. We definitely will do it again, man. I want to do like a round table, get a lot of breeders up and just hang out and talk to them. So I will be reaching out in the future, man. I'm gonna let you go, but before I let you go, I always do some shout outs to the people that's in our community. First off, when you leave here, make sure you go over to Iron Dog's channel. Iron Dogs Reptiles is doing a show right now. Shout out to My Animal House, Cold Blooded, Kara Shea, Joe Chaloners. Make some of the best cages in the world, venom proof cages. Shout out to Cold Blooded Monstars, Tavian's Water Reptiles, Celtic Balls, Reptile Feedings, Ball Python Love, Hoseway, Kurtwood. It's just so many to name. OSMR, Not Lou. If I forgot anybody, forgive me, but we have a great community. Make sure y'all go check them out. I'm gonna play us out. Don't go anywhere, Jason. I'm gonna have us go backstage so I can tell you thank you again backstage. I'm getting ready to play us out. Everybody, stop what you're doing. Go hop on Iron Dog's channel, man. Check out his show tonight. We're getting ready to play out. Make sure y'all check out Venom Proof Cages, some of the best in the world. I'm gonna take us out of here.